Ladies and gentlemen, we have something special we want to introduce you to. This is a big moment, too, for hip-hop in general. On Broadway right now, there is a play called Holler If You Hear Me.
Holler If You Hear Me.
And the music to the play is that of our very own beloved Tupac Shakur.
Revolutionary, visionary.
That
MC.
voice you hear is Saul Williams.
What's up?
A famed musician, poet, actor. What other titles do you have? I'm sure I'm leaving something out.
Father, husband.
Well, yeah, of course.
What's up?
And who's this gentleman to your side?
This is my man Joshua Boone, part of the cast of Holler If You Hear Me.
Yeah, play Darius in the show.
All right. Talk right into the mic so we can make sure
I'm
it's
right
good.
here with it.
So a lot of people are like, yo, there's a play about Tupac on Broadway, but that's not quite what this is.
Nah, actually, it's a fiction. It's Tupac actually wrote a lot of fiction in his rhymes.
That's
There's
right.
a lot of stories that he told that were not his own, and so our writer Todd Kreidler pulled a lot of stories from Pac's stories. And so in this story, in Holler If You Hear Me, we're telling the story of an ex-con who moves back to his neighborhood, attempting to make a change in his life, and ends up changing his community. And it's about how do we end cycles of gun violence in our community? How do we raise the bar? How do we bring this whole thing to another level? And the play itself takes hip hop to another level.
Yes,
where you have a cast of 25 amazing MCs, actors, dancers, taking it, to the great white way.
You said the great what way?
The great white way, that's what they call Broadway.
That's
We
what they call
gentrifying
it.
that.
I never heard it called the great white. Is that like a Broadway like?
Yeah, that's the term that they've used for the past 100 years,
never
referring
knew
to
that.
Broadway, the Great White Way. Yeah, that's how come it's so important that we're there. That's why we
Yeah.
got the Hip Hop Museum there repping us, and everybody who knows what's up is repping us.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you bringing us into the loop too. You guys have given us tickets to give away. You've advertised on the radio. Laura Styles, you actually went and checked it out already.
I have a question for you. How involved was Afeni Shakur in the play?
She's our producer.
Wow.
She's our producer. In fact, the idea came from her conversations with August Wilson, the esteemed playwright August Wilson. And so she approached him about 15 years ago or 17 years ago with this idea. And he started, going through all of Tupac's music and was really moved by him. And his assistant at the time is the guy who actually ended up writing this piece, Todd Kreidler.
A lot of people use Tupac's name, or a lot of rappers come out now. Saul, you've been on the scene being an activist and being a what I call someone who is conscious for a long time. In hip-hop and on Broadway and just even in poetry. But Pac's name is thrown around because a lot of people want to aspire to be this image of Pac that they see from, the thug life and the violent side of it.
But cats
there's
need
a
to break
whole
it
other
down.
thing to it.
Well, yeah, cats need to break it down. Cats misunderstand Pac the same way they may misunderstand Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need to get to the essence of who Pac was and why he was how he was. Pac was the children of revolutionaries.
Yes,
Pac
he
was a child of the Black Power movement, just like hip hop is a child of the Black Power movement. Like, we are the voices of confidence, speaking up and speaking out, speaking truth to power. Pac represented that. He was a child of Black Panthers, and hip hop had that sensibility as well. Not
It still does.
It
but
still does.
Unfortunately, on the radio, we play. If we get into those records, people don't want them.
Well, that's true and it's not true. We know that there's a such thing as just like people being spoon-fed stuff. We know the role that the media plays and advertisements play and payola plays in getting people, to pay attention to what they pay attention to. And we could just as well feed them something differently. You know what I'm saying? People like even Dave Chappelle proves that. Like, he can be smart, funny,
Dave
revolutionary, all at the same
does a
time.
great
There's tons
job.
of people that have been doing that for ages, and it reaches through. So I think we have to stop the misinformation of thinking that people don't want it. People actually want it. People love it.
That's right.
People, not only do people, we don't have to talk about people need it. Oh, they should have it.
I think people want it.
People
coming
want
back
it.
around.
It
Yeah,
hypes
it's coming
people
back
up. That
around.
if you want that real passion, you know what it sounds like when you hear it. You feel it. That's why people rep for Pac worldwide, not just because he represented something that was violent, but because he represented something that was real, because he spoke directly to prisoners.
Do you feel like there's somebody as talented who mixes not only the words, but and I take exception to a lot of times because I'm into the music, and I feel like a lot of artists, while they say great things, there's an aspect of the music that is left out.
I agree with you on that.
Pac's music was as incredible or he always made sure as his rhymes.
That's right. That's just like Chuck D had the Bomb Squad.
Yes.
Nobody could front on the Bomb
That's right.
Squad. You know, that's why Andy, you know, like
And
Cube pulled in.
Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
You had
and all
people
that.
making the
Yeah.
music.
Exactly. Is there anybody now you're asking me?
That maybe I'm not paying attention to, because
Nah.
I like to get on the front lines with people like yourself and have this dialogue, right? Because I feel like the music is out of balance, or excuse me, the content in the music is out of balance.
Right.
But I challenge everyone, because the musicians that are making great music
Yeah.
aren't putting people or collabing with people who also have a message, so we're not getting a mix of the both.
I agree with you on that. I think there's a lot of conscious rappers, for example, who think that people should be paying attention to what they say because they feel they're saying something important. But like you said, the music isn't backing it up. And then you have a lot of cats where the music is awesome and they're not saying, anything. But how can you front on the music? Because it's music first. Well, you know, I think there's tons of cats that know what's up, you know, like from anyone from Danny Brown to Kendrick
Danny
Lamar
Brown,
to, you know, I like
So there are some cats that, because we support those cats too, and they do a pretty good
there's
job.
definitely cats that have that.
Even
that
J.
rep
Cole,
that.
who made it
J.
to the
Cole,
mainstream.
Lupe Fiasco has
Yes,
that. There's
yes.
tons of cats that have that, but what I like to point out is that everybody has that, and it's a call to arms, and people just have to realize and be educated. Like, for instance, if you rep some stuff like on some, like, you know, like people don't value lyricism. Like Jay, for example, will be on some stuff like I dumbed down my lyrics and doubled my sales. Thank God Bob Marley didn't do that. Thank God Fela Kuti didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Thank God Nina Simone didn't do that.
Some people say Bob did do it though. Some people do say that about him when he
didn't
went
dumb
mainstream.
it down. He found the essence of what he needed to say so that we all felt it. But nobody could ever dispute the fact that
Because when
Bob
he made
Marley,
Jammin' and Could You Be Loved,
yeah.
there were critics.
Oh yeah, of
There
course
were
there were critics.
The way that man lived, though, you know, he stood for so
Yeah.
much more too. At the same time, you're talking a man who's, you know, who was shot the night before one of the biggest performers of his life. You know what I'm saying? Like he stood for something way much more. Than
No, he was
than his
definitely
music
a
alone.
polarizing figure, but to the benefit of a lot of people who followed him.
Yeah, but people essentially, I feel like MCs really have to just acknowledge the call to arms and educate themselves on stuff. Like, we all know, everybody knows now. We all listen to Wu-Tang, and Wu-Tang's another example. For me, Wu has always come correct on a mixture of like knowledge, street knowledge, and beats. You know what I'm saying?
So you're really, when what you guys are doing with this Holler, if you hear me play, it's on Broadway right now. Make sure you get your tickets. Go support our brothers out there doing some great things. What you guys are trying to do is show the dynamic of a life, a certain type of lifestyle, mixed with the soundtrack of what Tupac brought us lyrically and musically, and then insert Broadway, because there's a Broadway element to it.
Well, the element that's really important is just to realize the element of theater itself. You know, like theater is older than church. Theater is a place where you know, before TV, before movies, it's a place where we can pull back and observe our behavior in society and say, oh, that's how we are. Oh, that's what lying looks like. That's what power, honor, you know, all these things look like. And we can examine ourselves, our society, our culture through theater. So yeah, it happens to be a theater that's on Broadway, you know, but that's just the thing to get us into the room with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's theater that's important. And so we're taking all of these aspects of Pac's music, of hip hop culture, and of all the injustices that are happening in our community in America, disenfranchised youth, you know, the poor that have remained poor, you know, the voices of poverty. We're focused just like Pac was. Pac's first big single we know was Brenda's Got a Baby. You know, he didn't come out swinging on some like, I'm the freshest MC of all time.
He wanted to be an activist.
Let's not neglect the fact that Pac has roots in the theater too. So it's not insert theater. It's been there his whole life and through his music. He was a great storyteller, and that's shared in what we're doing.
Yeah, wasn't he?
He was in the Raisin in the Sun when he was 12 years old at the Apollo.
Went to an art school. You know, this comes from his mother too. His mother expressed how much he loved the theater.
Pac was in the drama club at his high school.
And then he brought the drama in real life.
Yeah, he brought the drama, but the real drama and the real thug life. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, we all know that Pac's thug life was an acronym. The hate you give little infants, F's everyone. You know,
so and that's what he was doing with it. So when you see people talk about thugging now,
it don't mean Maybachs, it don't mean Ciroc, it don't mean any of the nonsense that you might think it means. It means repping your community first
and raising up your community.
Raising up your community first.
So you hear that aspect, right? Of the Tupac. Of he wasn't these things, but then you see visuals where Pac did embrace those things. Do you guys feel because I'm sure people are going to debate this conversation.
Go ahead.
Do you guys feel that Pac appropriated some of the materialistic lifestyle
We live in a capitalist country,
in a
man.
way to get a certain message across to people who may not have heard him otherwise?
Well,
Because I've heard that conversation too, where people say, "Yo, no, Pac went into that world to get to those people who may not have just paid attention to him if he was preaching."
Yo, we all, you know, live in this society, and it's not like, you know, we can be focused on what we're focused on without necessarily turning our back on the fact that we live in a capitalistic society.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had music and Nike commercials and, you know, and all types of stuff, and you know who I am.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's real, the idea of like, how do you get that idea out there? Pac wanted to get out of prison. You know what I'm saying? For example, when he signed with Death Row, you know, he turned to his lawyer then and was like, yo, I know I just did a deal with the devil, but yo, I got to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? That's Pac's words. That's not my words. That's Pac's words. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, Pac, he saw it as crucial, reaching his community, just like I always have. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always been like this moment of urgency, of emergency, and realizing that you got to do what you got to do to get it done. I don't think that means that you can't enjoy a glass of champagne, a limousine, a white suit, and, you know, some girls to celebrate with. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can.
Well, you can't enjoy girls anymore. You're a father, sir.
Yeah.
You gotta chill out. You gotta chill out.
All right.
So do you.
I can't.
I gotta chill.
Oh yeah, look at you.
chill.
Okay, yeah. All right,
I don't
all
have
right.
to chill. And
Joshua Boone is really chilling, huh?
Just speaking of what you're saying, at the same time, you know, the way Pac lived his life, you know, and speaking of the prison he lived in, it wasn't just, you know, actual bars, you know, it was maybe his music deal. It was the system that we live in.
Yeah.
And you gotta remember, we're all human, and he was human. And when we're fighting against something constantly and it's not being embraced, or the mindset or ideas of what we're talking about, especially when it comes to uplifting our community, when those things aren't being received by fellow artists or your community or society at large, you're gonna get upset. You're gonna lash out against people who are against that, and that's what you end up getting, and that's how Pac lived.
Yeah, Pac saw red, obviously, you know, when he got angry. If anything, if we were to point out flaws, that would be the thing, right? That Pac
Turned
saw
up quick.
red, and then it was like, whew, you know, forget all thought, forget everything, just go for it. But even in those moments, I would argue that Pac never lost his focus on what was important.
And how does this manifest itself in the play on Broadway, Holler, if you hear me? Are there characters?
Yes.
Because it's not about Tupac. It's about people who come from circumstances and the music is parallel to their life.
Have you ever seen, you know, like, it's the realest, most authentic representation of the hood.
Yeah, people are scared of it too.
You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, on stage, we don't have nothing but a bunch of, like, stoops. You know what I'm saying? There's people sitting on the stoops talking. It's a block. You have girls jumping double dutch. You got, you know, like, it's the hood. It's the real hood on stage, and it's a way for you to look at what's going on, and it's all about how they're going to, you know, the story of a dude gets killed. A dude that we all love gets killed, and the cats on the block basically are like, yo, we gotta go handle that. We gotta retaliate. We gotta handle that. And it's all about how they decide to handle that. You know, and it's just real situations, real, you know, questions that arise in life, especially when you live in communities like that. And then, you know, we pitch in a bit of imagination of possibilities of like how we could approach a situation like that.
Yeah, it's happening every day, all around the country, in different hoods.
And Josh, your character, what explain us the characters.
Yeah, see, the characters are actually, you know, Todd explained that the characters are actually drawn from Pac's music, essentially, and because he crafted the story around Pac's music so that the lyrics are at the forefront of the story. You have to listen and pay attention to the lyrics when you come, because it propels and enhances the story. My character, I play a character named Darius in the show. He's kind of a live wire, so to speak.
Knucklehead.
You know, he's the cat. He's the cat in the neighborhood who, you know, he lives by a certain code, the street code, so to speak. And anybody who goes against that, you know, they're in the wrong. You know, it's not that he's acting up. He's just acting up. It's just that he wants everybody to adhere to what the code is of the streets. Whether or not he's ready to live by that, that's up for debate. That's up for question. And that's where his dilemma comes into play. It's a very interesting dynamic, man.
Now, Laura, you went and saw it.
Yes.
Do you have, from watching it, do you have any other questions? Because I know that, like, when you think Tupac, what I'm trying to, I guess, because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's based on the music of Tupac, and Afeni's a producer, and obviously I know you guys are in it. I'm trying to understand, is this a musical, like Broadway style?
It's a musical hip-hop style.
Okay.
It's never been done before.
Never.
Okay.
All you could do when you come is get your mind blown. That's the because it's never been done before. We're not up there on some Sammy Davis, Ethel Merman type.
Okay.
We are
All right.
redefining
and you
what a
have
musical
people
is.
who want to put it in a box, and it
Yeah.
doesn't belong in a box.
Okay.
You take it and receive it as it is.
Okay.
And accept it that way. You know, don't try to classify it with something else.
Because you know,
that's
look,
not
I'm
the
trying to
case.
wrap my head around it. I hear-
Imagine a Shakespearean monologue that's like this. Can you picture my prophecy? Stressing the city, the cops is hot for me, the project is full of bullets, the bodies is dropping, there ain't no stopping me. Constantly moving by making millions, witness the killings, leaving dead bodies in abandoned buildings, and raising children cause they illin', addicted to killing and the appeal from the cat peeling. Without feeling, but will they last or be blasted? Hard-headed bastard, maybe you'll listen in his casket, the aftermath on stage.
Come on, man.
That's what's happening
Yeah,
on
so-
stage.
so you hitting that.
We are
The
hitting that
opening number,
just like that.
The opening number hits like a Shakespearean prologue.
And I can't even say it because there's too many curse
It's definitely
words.
very powerful, and it takes you through a journey of emotions as you watch it. You gotta go see it.
And the
See,
thing
I'm
is,
just saying, I
You
know,
have to go see
I
it.
know people watching this and listening to this right now. When you say Shakespearean,
Yes.
right? People go, hold up, this is hip, man, fam, don't.
You need to recognize who Shakespeare is in terms of like what hip hop is.
I know,
I don't know what,
but I'm just
no,
saying.
I'm saying
when you
for the
hit,
listener,
when you
I'm,
hit people,
yeah.
they hit you with the you trying to kick knowledge. They hit you with that, and they put up the block.
I hear you. I've always argued that hip hop is Shakespearean.
It is.
I used to bring Wu-Tang records to my Shakespeare classes at NYU and make my teachers listen to Ghostface and to Raekwon. I used to make them listen to just.
Well, how about this? People who are fans of those things, right, don't realize that those artists study these other things.
Yeah.
And they study other forms of music, rock and roll, jazz, country,
Exactly.
blues, gospel. They study all these other forms of music. They also study Shakespeare, and they also study plays.
Pac was a huge Shakespeare fan. He was a huge Shakespeare
But then when
fan.
it comes into hip hop, these keep it real hip hop cats, it's hard to get their brain out of what these rules and regulations and standards and get them into a new kind of view.
And that's what we need to speak on. You know what I'm saying?
They're
Back to-
limited.
yeah, back on the question that you asked me before, you know, about MCs and all this stuff. Like, we all know, everybody knows that the FBI and CIA brought crack into our communities. We all know that now, right? So that means that anybody who's bragging about the fact that they're selling that and making loot off of that are essentially working for the FBI and CIA.
Yes.
Can you make that connection for
Yes.
me? So then the cats that are actually doing that, those are the snitches. Those are the ones that
Talk
are
about
actually
it.
working for
They
the
don't
government.
they don't listen to
They
me,
actually
my
they
G.
think they working for the streets. They working for the government. So cats are caught up on the wrong, on the wrong thing. Forgive me, I'm pausing because
Nah,
I
man.
curse a lot in real life.
No. I'm trying to bring this out of you because
You know what I'm
I know
saying?
you,
Yeah.
right? And I know what you've done,
Yeah.
right? And you know, a lot of times here at Hot 97, we have this conversation.
Yeah.
People turn us on specifically to get from point A to point B, hear a favorite song, and maybe laugh.
But you understand, yeah.
Unfortunately, everything ain't fucking funny.
Yeah. Well, we can curse. Listen, first off, understand, I'm an MC first before all of this shit. I'm an MC first. And part of the reason why I became, I didn't decide I wanted to become a poet. My shit evolved into that, and I let it. You know what I'm saying? It's just a part of the natural evolution. I was, blinging. I got jumped when I was 14 because I had on 2 name rings, a nameplate, a Gucci pouch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the shit. So how could I do that when I was 24? I was like, I did that when I was 14. That's the only shit that shit evolved. You know what I'm saying? And my reason for becoming, continuing to express what I wanted to express through art as opposed to becoming a critic was because sometimes niggas need examples. They need examples. So if cats want to be knuckleheads, like let's just give them examples. You know what I'm saying? Like it could take place in a battle. It could take place on stage. Like cats can see it and recognize it when they feel it. When they feel it. But it's true.
And you feel like this play, Holla At You Hear Me, is going to give people that
Holla
feeling
If
right
You
here.
Hear Me.
Holla If You Hear Me is going to hit them in the gut with that.
Oh, without a doubt. All of our audience have had unanimous response. Unanimous response of just like, what? You can do that? You can do that on
what
stage?
What if you love hip hop and you're not so much, you haven't been to Broadway that many, so you don't know you've never been in theater before.
Then you need to up your game, even in terms of your date game. You know what I'm saying? You might need to up your date game. You know what I'm saying? You popping bottles, you might need to pop a theater ticket, you know, and impress somebody.
For real,
impress somebody. It's a perfect date night. You need to
form.
get your game up. That's what it is.
There's no greater place than to be in the theater. It incorporates every aspect of life. You're gonna be afraid. You're gonna be happy.
And I'm sure you've used the theater many times to get to pop a
yeah, you know what it is.
I mean,
we gotta
I invite friends or two from time to time. You know,
niggas, you don't only have to invite them.
Got them at sitting separate ends of the theater, right? In the back, I need one in the balcony, I need one in the front.
It's the same thing like when you go to museums. Cats will go to museums until they go and they're like, oh, that's who's in museums? I'm gonna be in the museum every weekend. The theater is the same way. If you want to come, you know, look at like who's sitting in the seats, you might want to be in the theater.
No, it's a great experience. So holla if you hear me. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster.
Yeah,
and we
have them to give them away. So we'll be here supporting y'all. I think we got Buckshot coming up later this week.
Yeah.
Much love to the hip hop community. Much love to everybody. We there repping for you. In fact, we on Broadway doing community service. You can look at it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly
We're repping our community on Broadway. Like I said, the Great White Way. We're here to gentrify that and to bring our culture and our generation to that stage. Because it's not, you know, we're not Motown. We're not After Midnight. You know, we're not.
But those are some reputable plays too.
Oh, I'm saying, but we're not jazz, is what I'm saying. We're not jazz. We're not R&B. We are hip hop. Straight up, straight up, and it's the rawest delivery of hip hop on stage that you can imagine.
In addition to that, you know, the theater, it used to entertain and send a message. Nowadays on Broadway in particular, it's just entertainment. You know, this is entertainment and a very strong message that our youth need to hear, that old white people need to hear, that old black people need to hear. Everyone needs to come and see this show.
And just be blown away, because it could never be what you imagine, because our imaginations have been crucified by the media as it is right now. So how could you even expect that you could imagine what this is about? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So you just need to walk in the theater and have your mind blown.
Yo, thank you guys for coming by and hitting the people with this, man. Appreciate you.
Indeed.
Go watch the show. You have to watch the show.
Have to watch it before I wait.